Mandela effect, things I don't want to cover because I know I'm going to find something nasty. And JonBenet Ramsey. In the year 2000, at some time, millions of people watched an ABC 2020 Barbara Walters interview with the parents of JonBenet Ramsey, John and Patsy. They didn't say certain things, and they did say other things. And there's a transcript somewhere. I'll put a link below for that if I can find it. The transcripts and the videos are considered copywritten, so therefore it's very difficult to find them because they will absolutely take down anything they put up unless you visit their website and pay for it. Hint to ABC in 2020. Nobody wants to go to your website because you don't know how to write a website properly. You suck. Just saying. Most corporations do. If we want to watch a video, we go to YouTube. We don't go to Facebook normally. Tabloids immediately started running stories saying the parents killed their daughters. People in charge of the investigation immediately went after the family members. Who was in the building when this kid died? Her little brother. Or older brother. I don't know how old. I'm not even going to go there. The 9-year-old brother was there. The bowl of fruit that was eaten by her that had his fingerprints on it. He was asleep during all of this. Tabloids decided that John killed his daughter after some sort of perverted sex game because tabloids putting up a picture of a preteen beauty pageant girl and putting the word sex or rape in the title of it gets sales. They exploited the death of a child. They sexualized a child. I was alive during this. I saw this sort of thing come up on the screen, even on television. Constantly rerunning this to subconsciously emphasize something that has nothing to do with it. A little girl got killed and her body was thrown behind a door. She was killed by strangulation and her head crushed. But let's look at a bunch of salacious stuff. Tabloid television as well. That automatically invalidates their assertions. You have to start over from the beginning. Why? Because they profiteered off her death. Another assertion was that the mother killed her, but it had to be my mistake because they twisted it up to her catching her husband doing something illegal, but for some reason didn't finish the job by killing her husband for doing something wrong to her daughter, somehow. And this was an assertion by a housekeeper at one point. What about evidence? Well, let's talk about how the Ramseys responded to all of this. They were flabbergasted that commentators decided to describe their child as looking like a 6-year-old Lolita, a pint-sized sex kitten, and daddy's little hooker. This is what was done by mainstream media to sell views. That's like me looking at somebody getting shot in Las Vegas and concentrating on how she was dressed when she was killed. Her strutting on the catwalk and mock vamping was referred to, and this is the quote, in the media as kiddie porn. And because of the media, because of tabloids sexualizing a child, not the parents, the tabloids and the news sexualizing a child unnecessarily in a completely unrelated way so they could get views. That became the one thing this was known for. For years afterwards, it really made me furious. Every time you saw a picture of her, you didn't see her sitting playing with dolls or see her, looking at the camera smiling. It was always pictures that were usually doctored up and photo edited by the tabloids to make it look like, oh, we all know why she died. By not saying why, they avoided lawsuits mostly. After all of this sensationalization and character assassination, the family members and friends and family members and friends of family filed against hundreds and hundreds of organizations and got out-of-court settlements and got them to stop posting by suing the living shit out of people who made these assertions without any basis. The only requirement was you had to show that the person had no basis for the accusation and that you could prove that you were actually cleared. Everyone who's been accused has been cleared, or they wouldn't still be out there. No process was taken at the location to prevent contamination of evidence in the rest of the house. Visitors pick up and cleaned surfaces in the kitchen, possibly destroying evidence. No, not possibly. Officer Rick French walked away from the door Joan's body was behind. JonBenet's body was right behind a door. He didn't open it till later. When it was found, it was moved immediately, and the crime scene was immediately contaminated, and forensic evidence was disturbed. And this is the other thing. When she was found, it was pretty obvious she'd been dead. Death by skull fracture and strangulation. Nylon cord tied to a broken handle of a paintbrush used as a garrote to maximize the amount of pressure applicable by the person using their hand on one end of the cord so that they wouldn't have ligature marks on their hand afterwards. By tying it around her neck and pulling. It's sometimes called a one-handed garrote. That's probably what was done. It was wrapped around her throat and pulled tight. Either before or after this, her head was bashed in. That's what happened to a kid. So let's run tabloids. I want you to look up JonBenet Ramsey and tabloid, hit image search, and prove to me that that isn't what happened. I want you to do it. I demand you do it. And a bunch of politicians, including DAs that are politicians, got involved. They started off with 1,600 people in their index of persons of interest in the case to investigate. By 1999, a grand jury that wasn't allowed to post this publicly said the parents did unlawfully and knowingly and recklessly and feloniously permit a child to be unnecessarily placed in a situation that posed a threat of injury to the child's life or health, and it resulted in her death, a child under age 16. Because they left the house for a few hours, or maybe they left all day. I don't know. Maybe she was a latchkey kid. Why don't you look up the conditions that actually precipitated this? Don't read the tabloids. Colorado governor told the parents of JonBenet Ramsey, quit hiding behind your attorneys and PR firm. Is there any evidence against either of them? I mean it, really. Okay, let's look at the only evidence anybody was able to isolate. Because by the year 2006, investigators had never considered the 9-year-old brother Burke to be a suspect. I guess the JonBenet Ramsey was 6 and he was 9. He was the only one in the building. They did DNA tests of him. They did tissue checking. They actually did look at the ligature that was wrapped around her neck and the handle, and looked for fingerprints and such. There was also a note left that was hastily drawn up, way too long for a note to say, "Oh, I have your daughter and I'm holding her hostage." It was handwritten in the building, probably after the fact, to make it look like it was a kidnapping, right? Because nobody came back to try to pick up the money, because she was already dead. 2006 DNA extraction showed one unknown human male minimum. 2016 DNA extraction showed 2 unique human males. The DNA did not match anybody in the entire environment. It was not any of them. The DNA was found on her clothing that was retained. At least that wasn't completely screwed up as far as evidence source. The DNA chains, of course, have been checked against everybody who visited that day. They could hog tie long enough to get DNA samples, or hold them down and say, no, you have to identify yourself because you went in and wiped down a counter like an idiot. The Ramseys have either 1, or had settled out of court, and same thing with friends and neighbors, every defamation suit they filed, they won. It doesn't matter if a company or an entity or CBS News apologized publicly or admitted it. It's not relevant. Someone asked me, can you find the interview with Barbara Walters with the Ramsey parents where there's a rumor that her father calls her something I'm not going to repeat, you can read it below. No, it was the media doing it because it sold papers. Along with Bat Boy. YouTube and the rest of the internet are just as bad. If you create a satanic panic or satanic ritual abuse story, you know, like Pizzagate, people will flock to it because they're perverts. Yes, I said that. Yeah, Defango, if you're watching. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Along with everybody else I debunked when I had to do that. There isn't a basement in Comet Ping Pong. These foul expressions came from the media. 6-year-old Lolita, pint-sized sex kitten, daddy's little hooker. That says more about what they thought of a child dressed up in a pageant, almost mockingly trying to look like a grown-up so they could win a beauty pageant. These things were, at one time, just done for fun. Now we have Toddlers and Tiara as a reality show. There's something wrong with us. Stop pointing at the parents, please. Stop pointing at the relatives, family, friends. Okay. The most likely scenario everybody who isn't trying to get elected came up with was that it was a burglary by apparently 2 people. They found the kid. Kid might have made a noise. They decided to silence the kid. Knock the kid unconscious and then strangle the kid. Nothing was stolen. It's because they freaked out after they realized they killed the person, the little kid, and ran off. They didn't know the other kid was in the building. The only reason the other kid didn't get killed is the kid didn't wake up because they were being quiet while they killed his sister. Oh, if anybody's curious, I'm a victim of a house invasion at one point. It's amazing how quiet you are when you can't freaking speak. Nicely reinforced. I do have a personal issue with this subject matter. Oh, by the way, Tim, the baseball bat didn't work. And you went to kid jail and eventually suicided, right? No, he's still alive. He's a cop somewhere in the East Coast. I don't think the parents did anything, but I don't know, and neither do any of you. If you cite a tabloid source, it's bad. The person who asked this request for the information, you didn't do anything wrong. This is an example of the Mandela effect, where people think they heard or saw something, and they convolute things together. This is normal. It's data munging. Happens all the time. But I really do have a personal issue with this. We'll just call that person Tim. It's not really Tim. Tim didn't really hit me in the head, hit me in the throat with a baseball bat while trying to break into the house. That didn't happen. He didn't like where I shoved it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that.